Can you imagine me with you by my knee? T for two and two for tea. Me for you and you for me alone.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to our very first interview with Miss Chantelle Lee of Berry Quilting. We're terming it Tea for Two. So go ahead, Chantelle, let's give ourselves a little bit of a toast here. Boom, baby. All right, so my tea is actually coffee. Okay, so we are going to get started just by getting to know a little bit about Chantelle and her incredible new YouTube channel, Berry Quilting. So the first thing we want to kind of go over and tell our viewers is just how this all came to be for you. So in your description, you say that Berry Quilting focuses on, sewing, quilting, unboxing, crafting, mystery boxes, creating nature, and so much more. And that you will find tutorials, sew-alongs, haul videos, unboxing, mystery boxes, and occasionally some of your daily adventures, which is what really entices me. So I want to know what that means. So that is quite an interesting, mix of subjects for viewers to look forward to. So I just wanted to see why did you decide to put those as your main focus areas, specifically within that channel?
Well, it just seems the most true to me. I'm very into sewing. And anything craft related. And of course, we all love getting packages. It's like Christmas, right? Doesn't matter what it is, unboxing a new pair of shoes. It's like, whoa. But I also, as far as the daily adventures, I was kind of thinking I would share things like, oh, let's bake Christmas cookies, and we have occasionally we'll go down and visit family in another state, and they happen to have a really cool wildlife drive where, yeah, and you can see alligators and stuff like that.
Ooh.
And I thought it'd be really fun at some point to take you guys along on that wildlife drive and show you some of the stuff that I see out there. And
That's cool. So almost like a vlog style? Or am I
vlog
misunderstanding?
videos I think would be more so vlog style,
Okay.
but with my personality into it, not necessarily as I don't know.
As cut and dry as you see in most vlogs, like the atypical vlog style, it's more true to you.
Right. Well, I don't want to say that they're cut and dry, but just with me. I'm not quite as tech savvy with all of uh, the beautiful screenshots and everything like this. So it might just be a little bit more like, let's go on this adventure, join my family, and let's go have fun together kind of thing.
I love that. And I think honestly, I mean, not to speak for you guys, for the viewers, but I mean, for me, I appreciate that breath of fresh air, right? Like I can assimilate to that. I can connect with that because that seems approachable for something that I could possibly do in the future, or our viewers could do in the future, versus some of the stuff which, and no offense to anyone who does things this way, we love you and the way you do it, but those who capture those gorgeous B-roll imagery that have the gazillion-dollar Nikon camera and the great lighting and the gimbal and all that kind of cool stuff, sometimes that feels a little bit out of reach for the average Joe. So I think, it might be refreshing to have your style reflect that of just like, I grabbed a camcorder, not that we even use camcorders anymore. That shows how old I am, but I grabbed a camcorder and this is my journey and this is my family and here's an alligator type of thing, which I love. So I just wanted to see, I think I'm understanding this correctly, but please, if I'm wrong, just correct me. So the true like overarching theme and focus for the channel though is going to be sewing and all things involving sewing. So, no pun intended. Why is that? Why sewing, Chantelle?
I've always been very artistic. Sorry, my eyes are watering from the light, but
She's crying because she's just so glad to be
yeah.
here.
laugh too much and then my eyes water and then the light is like, oh.
It's a safe space, Chantelle. No worries, no worries. You can have your eyes water. So you were saying you've always been into sewing?
Well, I've always been into art. Any kind of art. Drawing was really my first love. And
Really?
then I went into sculpting with clay, and I've done carving, I've done wood burning, I've done painting. And when my second daughter was born, I decided I want to do sewing. And I just fell in love with it as a form of expression and art. And it just feels so, I don't, it just feels right. And it's just fun. I can use it in a way that is unexpected and create things that will last for generations
Absolutely.
and that can be used on an everyday basis. And there's just something about being able to use my art on an everyday basis and have other people be able to wrap themselves in my art, and that it'll be handed down from one generation to the next, that just feels so, it just makes me feel so perfect with it. It's just a great feeling of being able to have something that'll last like that. And
I
it
love
has
that. That's
all of
so
those parts.
beautiful. That's so beautiful because I think, I understand exactly what you're saying. And I think a lot of you guys watching will, if you are also creators, which I'm sure most of you are, that, how do I explain this? Creativity in general, I think for the majority of us, tends to be fluid, right? So it's very rarely, from my experience and from the experience of artists, makers, whatever you want to term yourself, around me over the last X amount of generations. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. That it's very rarely a single medium. We very rarely start with one medium and stick with that medium exclusively for the remainder of our artistic career endeavors, what have you. So your creative process and your creative journey that you're explaining, that began with drawing and kind of went through these different iterations until you got to that point of textile as the main medium, that to me makes a lot of sense. And it echoes my personal journey very much so as well. So when you're saying about the freedom of creating with materials as your medium, now are you referring to the incredible quilts that you lean towards making, or are you also doing like soft sculptures or wearable art? Are there other things that you're creating that you're referring to in that moment?
So quilts, yes, but I'm also referring to clothing that I make. I make a lot of clothing for my children and for myself, and some for my husband as well. And, you know, that stuff may not be, it is passed down from, hand-me-downs between my
Right.
kids. Not so much from my husband, but I guess that he's passed down a couple things to my son, and I've passed down things to my daughters, certainly.
Right.
but but yeah, I am talking about that as well. It's not so much that I don't make any soft sculptures, and
Okay.
I don't make, it's hard to say wearable art. It's not
Right.
something in the sense of here's a quilted jacket and it's got all of these. I don't tend to make things like that, but I make dresses and shirts and stuff like this. And to me, it's still wearable art. It's
I
just
agree.
that you might look at it and not even realize that I made it. A lot of times people think that it just came from the store that way.
Right.
But it's still a form of expression for me, and it's still being able to wrap them in my love when they're wearing it. So
That's incredible.
it's
Okay.
great that it dries your mouth out.
I know, right? All right, so we just heard about the types of things that Chantelle likes to make for herself and for her family, and the longevity of those pieces, and kind of being able to create something that lasts essentially a lifetime, that can be handed down from generation to generation. But creating those types of quality pieces is not something that necessarily comes to fruition after sewing for a few hours, right? It's a lifetime of building to that level of construction capability. So, Chantelle, along that same line, how long have you been sewing for?
Well, I started sewing when my second daughter was born, which is about 13 years ago. And I didn't really have anybody to teach me. My my husband's grandmother did sew, but I really didn't get a chance to go over there and visit with her. And then we moved out of state shortly after that. She did give me my first sewing machine though, which was wonderful. It was actually made the year that my husband was born. So it
Oh, cool.
it was an old Kenmore, and it was really special to get to learn to sew on that. She showed me how to thread it up, and then I just went on my way and taught myself the rest and watched, or read blogs,
Yeah,
because that's what it was at that time. There
right.
wasn't there wasn't a whole lot of YouTube and stuff. There was YouTube, I think, at that time, but
I think so.
it wasn't as big of a thing, or at least I didn't
Yeah, me
really
too.
get into it. So it was more so, oh, here's a cute cat video or things of that nature. And I didn't even know that there was sewing videos out there at that time.
Right.
So it was pretty much just trial and error for me, with a little bit of blog posts here and there that
Right.
I come across. So
So you are entirely self-taught.
pretty much, yes.
You've never gone to like a quilting class at a local fabric store, or done like an online course or anything like that. It's basically been like, a blog here, a blog there. Maybe now, because YouTube has become the new search engine for education, if you will, maybe if you're trying to do something a little bit more tricksy than normal, you might reference a YouTube from someone else and integrate that knowledge, but you never formally trained.
Correct.
That is incredible. That is incredible. As someone who did formally train, God bless you, because it's hard enough when you have someone screaming at you in a classroom to go faster, use less pins, X, Y, and Z. To do it on your own is that's staggering. That's incredible that you did that. That is so cool. So even in that regard, so when you're doing, like, for instance, your clothing for your family, are
Mhm.
you like creating your own patterns, or are you buying like a simplicity pattern and adapting it to fit your family, or are you using old pieces of clothing and kind of working backwards and deconstructing them to then use the pattern and make, like, how are you doing that, because you don't have any kind of like formal education as far as grading and all that kind of stuff? Like, how are you doing this?
So originally, I was creating my own patterns, and I only sewed from patterns that I created. And I kind of, if I really liked the way that something looked, I would, sit there and look at it and kind of examine it, and, oh, okay, that's how, try to figure out how it was done, and then go about my way doing it. And I'm very much the kind of person that I like to just jump right into it and give it a try. And, I don't want to have to take as much time to figure out how somebody else does it.
Right.
And I don't want to necessarily, like, for going to school for it, to me, that would be more difficult, just because having somebody tell me what way it needs to be done, I would not enjoy that. I would be like, but it works my way. But my way's easier. But my way is faster. This way works just as good, and it gives me a great result. Why would I do it that way? So I very much enjoy puzzles. and figuring things out too.
Okay.
And when I say puzzles, I just mean like anything that is problem solving and
Okay.
stuff like that. So this also plays a big role
Oh yeah.
in how I sew. And I like to find out of the normal ways to do things.
Okay.
And I like, you know, it's just one of the things that appealed to me about quilting is that there are different techniques that you can use that kind of almost cheat.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I
We all love
think
a good
that's
hack,
so,
right?
yeah, I think that's so fun that you can strip piece something. And the way that you sew together 3 lines and then you cut it apart and sew together something else, and now it looks like you've sewn together 16 pieces when really you just did 3 or 4 seams. And
Wow.
I think that's just genius.
Yeah.
It's like problem solving, but it's more than that. And I think that really, I think that's a lot of fun. And it might take me, it might take me 3 times as long to do something so that I can figure out how to do it in the way that I'm not supposed to do.
I love that though. And is that the kind of thing that we can expect? Is that kind of your secret sauce that you're going to keep to yourself, or can we expect to see that sort of thing in videos in the future?
Actually, I'm planning on starting a series of how to cheat at quilting and specifically doing different blocks that are done in that way. And I
Wow.
think that would be a lot of fun to I was I actually had come up with this idea, I think yesterday or the day before, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like fun.
That sounds incredible. That sounds really, really cool. I'm definitely going to watch those because I love quilting, the idea of quilting, but every time I attempt to do it, it's never a joyful process for me. And I end up putting it aside and never really circling back around to it. I prefer clothing construction and things of that nature because the mathematics of quilting and the preciseness of it is just so overwhelming to me, even as someone who's been sewing for a very long time. I was gonna say the years, but we're not gonna go to a very long time. It still like makes me nervous, but I will definitely be watching that series for sure. So everyone, stay tuned. That's coming soon. So the other thing I want to talk about real quick is you're doing all these incredible things, right? But in the past conversation that you and I had, you shared with me that you are a mother of 7. That's right, 7 children. And not only that, you homeschool all 7 children. So, my biggest question is how do you find time to do quite literally anything for yourself, let alone create these amazing videos that you're putting out on Wild Berry Quilting, or even just create the channel in and of itself? Like, how did you manage all this?
Well, honestly, this is what I do for myself is
Okay.
being able to sew, being able to create things. That is my biggest outlet is if I'm not creating something, I get kind of cranky and I'm like, I got to be able to have some way to express myself creatively. And if I don't, then I'm just not me and I'm not as happy. And that is my my core is creativity. I'm just so for me that is what I do for myself. And as far as finding time, there's time that I might spend scrolling through the internet or looking at things. I could be doing something else. I could be sewing, I could be creating a video, I could be you know whatever it is. And it is a struggle at times. And sometimes you do just want to sit down and scroll.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing that has helped is I just got rid of Facebook altogether.
So did I. Good for you.
I
Isn't it freeing?
it is.
It's
And
such a weight off of you.
you have so much more time without
So
it.
much more time. Oh my God. I'm so good for you. I'm so happy for you Did you get
Yeah,
rid of all social media? Obviously not YouTube, but did you get rid of all your other accounts or just Facebook?
pretty much just Facebook. And I haven't deleted it, but I haven't been on it since I think I got on it once since January, and that was because I needed to get in contact with somebody regarding homeschool. One of our the person who does our the person who does our assessments, she, her contact was through Facebook, so I had to get on there in order to contact her about it. But I set it up so I'd be able to email her instead. And I have tried to say, I haven't been on there except for that. And that has really made a huge difference. And there's so much more time in the day
Oh yeah.
without Facebook.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think I think it's going on 3 years now that I have not posted anything on my account. I also didn't I was gonna delete it, but I ended up not because just in case, I kept it alive. And also I use the messenger here and there to talk to family members around the country, friends, things of that nature. But I have not been actively on the feed itself, engaging with anything, liking nothing at all for almost 3 years now. And I have to
That's
say, it
awesome.
is a huge, huge shift. I also haven't really been on Instagram. The one thing I have been kind of here and there doing things with, I don't know about you, is TikTok. Because my daughter, I only have one child, and I still can't find enough time in the day. But my daughter's about to be 14 next month, and she is like the queen of TikTok. And as a marketing person and a multimedia designer, I kind of felt like I had to be on it to a certain degree to see the different editing, to see the different trending topics, things of that nature, so that I can help my clients in that regard, and also just kind of not become a dinosaur in my industry so that I can kind of keep up with it. But I am amazed at the 14 to 25-year olds, the level of creativity, the level of love and kindness that these kids are putting out there, and support structure that they're putting out there, is quite beautiful. It's way more so than our, because I think you and I are about the same age, than our generation did at the onset of Facebook. Because Facebook used to be a very different thing when it first started, right? And we're
Yeah,
not going to name names of who ended up doing what to it and how it got to where it is today. But our generation, when it started, was a much different thing. And right now, TikTok is still kind of the Wild West, and the kids are in charge, and they're doing a heck of a good job with it. And it's really inspiring to see what they do. And I love I kind of get a little bit ticky about it, honestly, because I paid thousands and thousands of dollars to get trained in how to do video editing and keyframing animations and yada, yada, yada. And now my 14-year-old does the same stuff with apps that do all the hard work for her, and her edits look 10 times better than mine. So I'm a
oh
little
my
bit
gosh.
like,
Yeah.
but God bless them. That's so cool. I think that's where we're heading. So that's really cool that you're there with that. So with your channel, I wanted to see, like, when it comes with your love for sewing and making in general, that's one thing. It's one thing to love to create and to kind of, like you said, it's your core. It's the thing that makes you tick. Obviously outside, I'm not saying your children aren't the thing that make you tick, but when it comes
Oh,
to
right.
you as an individual human being, standalone, you are a creative entity. So what was it that kind of lit a fire in you or inspired you, or whatever words you want to interject there, to take that love and that drive and transition it into something like a YouTube channel? What happened there?
Well, I have always been, when other little girls were playing with dolls, I was either climbing trees or narrating my own cooking show, or narrating my own, this is how you make this show. So really, it's almost strange that it's taken this long to be
Right.
able to do this. But at the same time, I think it's because I've been busy with my family, and up until just a few years ago, when YouTube has become a normal part of our everyday,
Right.
it wasn't possible for just the random person to decide, I'm going to have a show of my own where I teach people this stuff. It was something that maybe you might go to Hollywood and become something like that, but it wasn't something that was obtainable by a regular person. And so, YouTube has really put that within grasp for not just me, but everyone. Anyone can decide to do something like that. And, I've found enough time and enough, I was wanting to do this for the longest time, and I finally just decided to kick my butt into gear and do it. So,
well, I think I speak for, all of us who watch your videos, and you can see at the level of engagement, the amount of comments, the amount of likes. I met Chantelle like a matter of weeks ago, and she had X amount of subscribers, and that has quadrupled in that time. So I feel like, it's safe to say that we all love watching you do this, that your essence that you had as a child has carried through to adulthood for sure. And just a side note, I gotta tell you, it's incredible to me because Chantelle, I feel like we were separated at birth. I feel like we were meant to be in the same room together. We would have been best friends growing up because I was also climbing trees. And when I wasn't climbing trees or playing archaeologist, digging for rocks, I was in front of my mirror or in the bathtub mixing up stuff and doing infomercials explaining how it would be fabulous for your hair if you use this, that, and the other thing. Makeup, it was always, before it was possible to be a host of a show like it is now, like what you're saying, I was hosting my own show as well. So I really feel like you and I are kindred spirits in that regard. And I get it 110%. And I'm just so, I don't mean this in a diminishing way, but I am so proud of you that you took that step and you actually brought it to life. And I think it's evident that what you're doing is working and that people are enjoying it. And by the way, the link to Wild Berry Quilting is going to be in the description here. And I encourage all of you to go ahead to that channel, subscribe, like, hit the notification button so that you never miss a video. Chantelle is constantly cranking out new information and you don't want to miss it. So that's something that'll be in the description. So the next thing I wanted to move on to, I just said about you're on your way to 600 subscribers already. I just want to say, what was the debut date for the channel? Just out of curiosity.
it was the beginning of March, or not March, May. Sorry.
May. It is now May. July 22nd.
Yes.
So you went from 0 to almost 600 that quickly, completely organically. She's done no paid anything. She's not cross promoting on any outside social media platforms. This is all within the YouTube platform. She has grown organically to that level. And as a marketing person, I can tell you that is very impressive. That speaks volumes of the quality of what you produce and the love for your personality and your energy, Chantelle. So that is very, very cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I will say thank you to a friend that I had on YouTube. She did give me a nice kick at the beginning of all of this, and she shared my name and my channel, and that got me a little bit of visibility on my first video and really helped with my confidence getting out there as well. So that was Holly from Dandelion Stitches, and she was very
Holly
sweet.
from Dandelion Stitches?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make sure to follow her as well. And everyone check out Holly from Dandelion Stitches as well. All right. So, okay, so now we're going to transition into how you and us, Wazoodle Fabric end of things, kind of come together. So I know that you love Wazoodle Fabrics, but I don't quite know how and when you discovered us. And I just wanted to hear a little bit about that. And then I want to ask you about a very specific story that you told me, but I'm going to let you explain how you found us first.
Okay. So after my son was born, my oldest son, I discovered that I had developed some allergies that made it so that I could not use traditional sanitary products.
Okay.
And I needed to find an alternative. Obviously, I knew there were alternatives because what did our grandmothers do before disposable stuff was invented? So I went on a search and I found through blogs and other posts and stuff, I had found that the best, most absorbent fabric that was on the market was Zorb. And there were just rave reviews from everybody. And they're like, you'd have people say, oh, they were using terry cloth, and other people would be like, no, 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 no. Terry cloth is that, terry cloth batting, anything like that. That's not what you need to use. You need to use Zorb. And people swore by this. So I was like, okay, let's find Zorb. And I went to Google and I'm like, Zorb, and oh, Wazoodle. Okay. So I placed my order. I bought some Zorb and I was like, wow, yes, this is by far much better. And, that I've been a customer ever since that. And during the whole craziness of 2020,
Oh boy, yeah.
yeah, I was pregnant during the middle of that whole mess.
God bless you. And God bless any of you that were pregnant during that time. I mean, that had to be the scariest thing in the entire world. I
Yeah.
can't even fathom.
But I was actually pregnant. I had gotten pregnant before it started. So my daughter was born right in the middle of it in July.
Oh,
And, they were separating babies from families and stuff like this as soon as they were born. So we were, that's a whole nother story.
yeah.
But one of the things I needed postpartum supplies.
Okay.
And, diaper type supplies. And we had gotten stuck in another state. So I did not have access to all of my fabric stash. And I was like, I need some Zorb. What am I going to do? I don't have any Zorb. And so I was like, I'm going to order some. Well, I went online to order it. And during the time period where certain businesses had to shut down, I believe Wazoodle had shut down for a period of time. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? There was no telling when it was going to come back up. And I had sent an email. I found the website was still up. So I sent an email and I asked, is there any way that I can get a hold of some Zorb, because I need it in order to make these postpartum supplies that I need and that I'm going to need. And could you send me an invoice, or, is there any way that this could happen? And, I really went out on a limb hoping something would work out. And Arch, which I later found out through you is the CEO of the company, she replied back and she was the sweetest thing. And she was like, oh my gosh, let me help you out. And she went through, and I think she personally got together a group of end cuts from bolts and just a whole little care package of different types of Zorb, and boxed them all up and sent them to me for nothing. She didn't expect anything for it. She just sent it free of charge, just to take care of me. And then she continued to follow up afterwards and see how I was doing, and saying, oh, you can also use it for making masks, and, just giving me other helpful tips. And it was just wonderful. She was amazing. And after that experience, when I'm a customer for life. This is one of my favorite companies just due to that experience alone. And when I had the opportunity to work with you guys, I was like, yes, I want to work with them. If there's any way that I can also give back to them, and that I can also share with my subscribers and let them know how awesome this company really is, because they actually care about their customers, and it's not just about the money. That was my feelings.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for telling that, because, and the thing is, when you first told me that, it did not surprise me at all that Arch did that, because you're right. It's not, every company has to make money, obviously. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, it's really about our makers. And it's really about supporting and educating and empowerment through that education for our makers for a variety of reasons, whether it be just to support them when they have items like what you needed for your own health and well-being, up to changing everyday items to sustainable eco-friendly versions that are made from materials that are sourced and manufactured in the United States, and why that matters, type of thing. And actually, we did not close down because of the pandemic. What happened was Arch wrote a blog about masks, and it was the #1 result for mask making on Google, period. And because of that, it drove so many people to the website that we were inundated with orders, and people were working around the clock to try and get this out for people and help people, help people, help people. And I believe at one point there had to be some kind of a cap at one point, so that we weren't getting even more new orders, so that we could focus on fulfilling the ones that were already there. So that's we're one of the only places that did not shut down. Our mills stayed open the entire time. No one lost their jobs. No one got anything like that. So it was actually quite beautiful and quite amazing. But from what I understand, it was a heck of a lot of work. But that's all a good thing.
That actually makes it even more amazing, though, because that means that she took the time to not only reply to me, but to do all of that in the midst of being so busy.
Yeah, that's just who she is. That's just who she is. Yeah. And I think that's who we all strive to be. We all look up to her, and we all strive to be similar to her. And that's like the driving, love behind the brand, if you will. So I know that your fabrics and your projects, they fit in many ways with our mission statement that I just went over, which is the sustainability, the eco-friendly, the sourced and manufactured in the United States. But what is it exactly about what you're doing that you feel actually kind of, if there was a Venn diagram, it lapses over and creates that middle part that comes together with what we do?
Well, it's that's a loaded question.
I know, sorry.
um, at the end of the day, we're all making, and we're all trying to make our personal world, and by extension, the rest of the world, a better place. And I see a lot of overlap in that by itself, but then there's also what we're making. There's these are day-to-day products. They're things that you use every single day, that you can gift to somebody else to use every single day. And that's the kind of products that's the kind of things that I like to make, are things that are going to be used on a daily basis.
And that are going to last.
And that are going to last, definitely. I mean, I can go down to the local store. I won't name any specific ones because I don't want to call anything out, but I could go down to the local big box store,
Right.
and I could buy just whatever fabric is cheapest,
Right.
and make the same item. And it might look the same for the first couple days.
Right.
But after washing it a few times, you really start to see that difference. And your seams might be perfect. You might have spent 4 hours making this item. You might have spent much longer than that making this item. Your time is valuable. You've put the time and the effort and the quality into what you have made. But if the materials that you started with are not good quality, then that item is not going to last. The seams might never come apart, but the fabric might unravel.
Right.
And it's important to start with good quality ingredients before you can create a good quality finished item. And that is something that I have learned, as a large part due to sewing. I know when I started out, I did just go down and buy whatever fabric I thought was pretty.
Right.
And
Right.
oh, this is much cheaper than buying it from a quilt shop or buying it from another place. And that I learned that is just not, it's just not the same value. And although it may look the same initially, it does not survive the same.
Right.
So
That's a perfect point. And then what ends up happening, and whether it be what's termed fast fashion or an actual handmade good or what have you, using these other types of products, what ends up happening is it falls apart very quickly, and then you have to rebuy and remake. And by the time you're done, you've spent more money than you would have if you would have invested in the higher quality initially, and you've wasted a ton of your own time, which is money. Time is money. Whether you're making a profit or not, your time counts, exactly like you said. So I completely agree with that, and that makes a lot of sense. And that is how I also saw us overlapping as well. So we're coming out of time to wrap things up here, but I just wanted to give you a moment here. If there's anything that we have not touched on so far that you just wanted to, wrap this session up by saying, the floor is yours, Chantelle, whatever you want to say. No pressure.
right. Honestly, to me, the biggest thing is that I want to inspire other people to be creative and to explore their creativity. I think everyone, young, old, big, small, doesn't matter. Everybody has creativity within themselves.
Yes.
And I think that our world as a whole would be better if we could all express that. I think that for me, creativity is therapeutic. And I think that's true for a lot of other people who are creative. And again, I think everyone is creative. I hear plenty of people say, "Oh, well, I'm not creative." It's not true. You haven't found what speaks to you. You can be creative in any way. There's endless possibilities in our world. Maybe you're creative in the way that you like to sew, but maybe you're creative in wanting to design railroad, a miniature railroad thing. Maybe you're creative in painting cars. Maybe, there's endless possibilities. And if you find that creative side of you that really makes you happy, you will find that you'll find a smile on your face. You'll find yourself in a lighter mood. There'll be a weight lifted off of you because you are getting a chance to express yourself into the world. You are telling the world who you are by what you can create and add to it. And, my small part of YouTube, I would like to hope that I can inspire people to find that creativity within themselves. That's kind of a big order, and I don't want to sound vain saying that, but
Vain saying that. It's exactly what you're doing. That's not vain. That's truth. That's truth. And I just want to say, preach, the good word. Because, amen. Because, like, seriously, that you are onto something, Chantelle. You are onto something very tangible, very true. There's a very large kernel of truth in what you just said, and I think it's incredibly beautiful. And I think a lot of us diminish ourselves when it comes to creativity. If it's not something that can be hung in the Louvre, then we don't feel that it has any value whatsoever. And that's where, it ends up harming all of us. So I think you're right. No matter what your medium is, no matter what your outlet is, even the way you parent and what you teach your children can be a creative process. It's all a journey. And I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it, Chantelle.
Yeah, you got me
Absolutely.
tearing up, and it's not the lights anymore. I can't blame it on that.
Oh, I love you so much. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. We appreciate you so much, Chantelle. And we are going to be doing much more with Chantelle in the future. This is just our very first introduction to her and her channel, While Berry Quilting. Again, be sure to subscribe, like, hit the notification button for her. You will not be disappointed in what she produces. I guarantee it. I am a huge fan, and so is Wazoodle. Wazoodle follows her as well. But I believe Chantelle's going to be doing some pretty cool stuff for us in the future. So you will be seeing her beautiful face and energy again. But for now, thank you so much for everything. I'm going to raise my glass to you. And cheers, my friend. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Can you imagine me with you by my knee? T for two and two for T. Me for you and you for me alone.